Good evening, everybody, and thank you all for being here. It's so great to see you all. We look forward to this every October. We always look forward to coming here, and of course we have to thank Speaker Bob DeLeo for starting this 26 years ago. And we're still going strong. But this is a great venue, and we've really had wonderful participation from a lot of our healthcare organizations that are providing resources and information to you that can help you. By the way, my name is Sandra Hurley, for those of you that don't know me, and I am the owner and founder of Commonwealth Clinical Services, which is your local visiting nurse association. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We provide home care for people that are coming out of the hospital or rehabilitation. We provide intermittent skilled nursing services and physical therapy, occupational therapy, social worker services, and home health aid services. So those of you that need home care services, you can call us 617-846-RNRN. How's that? Is that cool? Okay. So we love coming here every single fall, and we're really, some of the people we had to turn away because we didn't have enough space, but we're so happy that we're all together each year as a community. We'd also like to thank the Winthrop Board of Health, the Winthrop Chamber of Commerce, the Winthrop Board of Health is here, the Winthrop Chamber of Commerce, Betsy is here, Winthrop Foundation, Dr. and Mrs. Dr. Shah, Commonwealth Clinical Services. In addition, of course, we are thanking the East Boston Neighborhood Health Center. Provides our flu shots every year. Thank you very much. We would like to thank those who can for those in need. Thank you, Judy. The Honan Sign Company. Thank you. Championship Physical Therapy. The Winthrop Marketplace. Thank you, Ma'am. And Robin's Nest for all of your generous contributions. Thank you. Thank you. We wouldn't be here tonight without you, so thank you for your support. Finally, I'd like to thank all of you community leaders for all of your participation, for your dedication, for your commitment to the town of Winthrop and the community, for all that you do. I see Jeff Turco out there. Thank you, Jeff, for all that you do for the community. So tonight we have two terrific key speakers. But before I introduce them to you, I just want to say that we're very happy. Again, this is the 26th year that we're here. I would just like to say that I am returning, and I've been getting encouraged by our keynote speakers to tell you that I've just been healed of stage 4 cancer, metastatic cancer. It's a wonderful honor for me to stay here tonight and to tell you it's a miracle that I'm here. And God healed me from this. And I just want everybody to know that there's always hope, and don't ever, ever give up. You know, sometimes, our life takes different paths. We have no idea where we're going sometimes, and things happen, circumstances happen in our lives, and we have no control over that. But, with every ending, there's a new beginning. And with every new beginning, there are many blessings. And for every blessing, we need to be grateful and thank you. We are thankful, I am thankful, my family and my friends as well. So I just want, and I know that when we treat patients, and I'm a nurse, I'm a registered nurse, and when we treat patients, it's not just the medicine. It's not just the medicine. We're dealing with the whole person, emotional and spiritual, and sometimes those are the things that really take over. So we need to be cognizant of that when we're dealing with patients, and I know there's medical professionals out there, and I know that that's what you do. So I want to thank you for listening to my little testimony. Now, without further ado, In this age of relentless change and progress, it's all too rare that individuals rise from humble beginnings to become influential leaders in the world of media and entertainment. Our next two keynote speakers have done just that. Tonight, we have the privilege of welcoming back one of our own who left the bustling corridors of the NBC Universal-owned television studios tonight to join us in his hometown of Winthrop. It is here that he once laced up his hockey skates as a member of the Winthrop Youth Hockey. He attended Dominic Savio High School, where he met his wife Ruthie, and they have 4 beautiful daughters. An Elmira College graduate and hockey player, he played for the East Coast Hockey League for 1 year before taking his very first job working as a salesperson for WQRZ 99.9 FM, Cape Cod. His professional media journey includes 106.7, Channel 56, Channel 7, General Manager of Sunbeam Television in Miami, Florida, Tribune Media in Chicago, Illinois, I'm getting tired, and WPOX TV in New York. His journey of success and sacrifice brought him back to Boston as president and general manager of WBTS-TV, New England Cable News, Telemundo, and NBC Sports. This industry leader also finds the time to give back to his community through his work at Youth Connect, Boys and Girls Club of Boston, Best Buddies, as well as the Genesis Fund. Please give a warm Winthrop welcome to our very own Chris Wayland. Chris.
Hey everybody, it's great to be here back in Winthrop. So humbled and proud to be here tonight. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, no.
A little bit louder, maybe. A little bit louder, yeah. So it's an honor to be here. It's a pleasure. I said, but before I get into that, can't hear me? All right, do it this way. Before I get into my comments, many people growing up had to find their heroes through sports athletes, or they had to watch them on television, or they had to see them in movies. And I was blessed because I lived with my heroes. And I wanted to point out tonight my mother, Doreen Wayland. And so it's completely appropriate for me to be here at this health center with my mom, because Mom, you're probably a couple years over 50, would you say? And Mom still goes to spinning class 3 times, 4 times a week. She still lifts weights, I think. So oftentimes I get pictures from my dad, texts from my dad, and he'll send me a picture of my mom doing deadlifts. I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? He's like, I'm watching your mom eating chocolate chip cookies. I said, well, there's 2 ways to healthcare, I guess, at the end. So anyway, thanks again for having me here tonight. So I'm going to tell you my story because it's very much a Winthrop story. I think the message today will resonate with all of you, but I'm going to direct my comments mostly to the younger people in this room. It's important for you to know that I was very much like you, a young person navigating life and trying to figure out who I was going to be, and what I wanted to do with my future. And I had no clue. And by the way, you're not supposed to have a clue yet. So for me, Winthrop was such a great place to grow up. It was a great place where the young version of myself could easily pursue all of the things I loved so much. I was able to play any sport I wanted to, whether it was organized or unorganized. there was a game anywhere I wanted it. Whether the courts at Eagleside Park, or playing street hockey with Mike Bertino and Jay Holmes. I was even lucky enough to be able to pursue sailing and race regattas all around New England out of the Cottage Park Yacht Club. I had a loving and supporting family with my parents, my older brother Ed, and my sister Beth. As stated before, I attended St. John's School for grammar school, then to Dom Savio for high school. By the way, both are closed, so if my college closes, there's no proof of my education actually. And there's a few guys in the back that says that's already been proven. So, my first job ever was at the Market, working for Mark Wallace stacking milk, which was not a great job, but that's what I did. I tell you all this because I think it's important that to understand where I came from will help you better understand where I am today. So, I was not particularly inspired to be really anything in life at that time. I loved sports, probably an average student. But then in 1980, the first of a few moments that really impacted my life happened. Mike Erizzioni, as you know, and the U.S. hockey team first beat the Russians in the greatest upset in the history of sports, in my opinion, and went on to win the gold medal. And I remember that as clearly as it was yesterday. When Mike came home from the Olympics, all the guys who were playing youth hockey at the time put our game jerseys on, and we went up to the bridge, the Belle Isle Bridge, to see Mike come across the bridge. And he came across the bridge with his gold medal around his neck. We followed him down to the Elks. He gave a speech. I remember I ran into the room, it was too crowded for me to see him. Some guy picked me up, put me on the windowsill so I could see him. And I don't really remember what Mike said that day. But I remembered this. I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to be part of something that was bigger than me. Be part of a team, not something that I could accomplish by myself with a group of people. So of course, I thought, what would happen to me is I would go on to play hockey, get a full scholarship to Boston University, play in the Olympics, win a gold medal, and off into the races. So none of that happened. So I played high school hockey. I played college hockey, but not at the Division I level. Played at the Division III level at Elmira College, a school I had never heard about until they invited me to come play hockey there. And I remember when my dad told the late great Larry Holmes where I was going to college. I remember him saying, "Jesus, Ron, what the hell is Eureka College? He'll never get a job." So I tell you that because that was the first moment of many times in my life that what I thought was going to happen, and the way I thought it was going to happen, it didn't. So while I was at Elmira, probably the most significant moment of my life in terms of helping shape what I was going to become as a person, and more importantly, introducing me to a technique that has guided me in goal setting and dealing with mental health and anxiety, took place. I was a freshman. We were halfway through our season. I was having, by all accounts, a good year. And we went to play at St. Anselm College in New Hampshire. This would be the closest game that we played to Boston. So as you can imagine, my dad invites every person he knows, family, friends, people he walked past on the street. So we get to the game, and for the first and only time maybe in my athletic life, the coaches decided to not dress me that night. So, as you can imagine, I have to go up into the stands, I'm in my suit and tie, my entire family and friends are there. To say I was embarrassed would be an understatement. I was completely devastated and humiliated. So I would make my way into the stands and sit directly in front of my dad. And after a few minutes of people coming over to say, "Hey Chris, sheepishly, sorry about your luck," and the game starts, my dad leans forward and he whispers in my ear, and he said, "Don't ever give them a reason to do this to you again. This is on you." Dad, a hug might be nice at this point, right? Maybe a little better. Of course, I think my mom hugged me that night. So not that day, but days and weeks later, after therapy sessions probably, what my dad said to me that day was true. I did something somewhere along the way, whether it was in practice, another game, my body language that day, that allowed them to leave me out of the lineup. So I was angry, I was mad at him, I was mad at the coaches, I was mad at myself, and I didn't know where to put it. So I started writing in a composition notebook that looks like this. Probably it was empty because I wasn't taking notes in class at the time. And I didn't know what I was doing at first, but I just started setting goals to myself as to how I would come back from this. And at that time, they were 100% on how I could be a better hockey player. And ensure that that would never happen to me again. I would literally write to myself either encouraging words, how well I was doing, or there were days where I would yell at myself and say things like, get your head out of your ass and give them reasons to leave you out of the lineup again. So I would love to tell you that that moment and that lesson changed me forever. And I've lived perfectly from that day to this, never giving anyone a reason to leave me out of any lineup that I wanted to be in. But that's not true. In fact, it's impossible for that to be true. What it gave me was a coping mechanism to deal with my emotional and mental health. I had no idea at the time that that's what I was doing for myself. And it took me years to realize it. But I've always set goals and journaled about those things that I want to come true since. That's what works for me. And it never, ever ends. At some point, I stopped playing sports and went to work full-time and tried to get into other lineups. So this approach to life started to encompass all that I did. I started setting goals and writing to myself about everything. Early in my professional career, I was a salesperson at WQRC. And if you've ever been a salesperson, you know there's an enormous amount of failure and rejection on a daily basis. You go through a day, and people tell you you're more useless and your product is horrible, and one day you get it more than most people here in life. But I had my journal, and I'd write to myself. And I'd tell myself that wasn't true, and give myself a pep talk to get up and try again tomorrow. Then I got married to the fabulous Ruthie Niblett Wayland. And realizing I was way over my skis and married way over my head, I started to write about what kind of husband I wanted to be. Ruth and I have been married for 24 years, 25 in December. And she will tell you there has been maybe one or two moments where I haven't been perfect. Maybe one or two months. But I had my journal to talk to myself, to help me work my way through it. Then Ruth and I were blessed with 4 beautiful daughters. So I set goals for myself on how to be the best dad possible. Help raise 4 strong, confident young women. And as you can imagine, now living with women 15 to 21 years old in my house, there are moments. But I have my journal to write to myself, to sort that out. When I became a leader of divisions or a company, it allowed me to set goals and priorities about what kind of leader I wanted to be. It's what allowed me to realize that I wanted to be a servant leader. When I lead, I believe that it's my job to get every person to operate at the highest level that they are capable of operating at. All at the same time, all going in the same direction. I also believe that I have to earn the right each day to lead them again tomorrow. Writing to myself in my journal helped me get there. So, over time, I started to write out all of my goals, my aspirations and dreams, in these composition notebooks. And I found that the strangest thing happened. The things I wrote in my journal started to happen. I will tell you that since 1989 until now, that the things that I've written in my journal have mostly come true. I can stand here before you today and say the job I have, the house I live in, my family, my income, All have been written in great detail in this journal. And so for me, it has served me on so many levels and helped me in so many ways. It's not just about achieving goals or having success. It was learning what allowed me to deal with those things that scare you or make you want to stay in bed every day. Like all of you, I have massive insecurities. I have enormous amounts of anxiety. There are days that I don't want to get out of bed. There are days that I want to quit and run away and hide because my life, just like your life, becomes overwhelming and impossible to deal with. Up to this very moment, by the way. But for me, I've always had my journal to reflect back on the things that I've accomplished in the past challenges and how I overcame them. It's what allows me to not string together a bunch of bad days that become weeks. It's what has helped me the most in dealing with my mental health and anxiety. So, especially you young people, if I can leave you with this one thought, it really doesn't matter how old you are or where you are in life. If you can picture in your mind the life that you want to live going forward and write it out in great detail, I can promise you this. Someone is going to live that life. I think it should be you. Thank you.
Wow.
That was wonderful, so inspiring. Thank you, Chris. And you know, all of us can do well to do journals, I think. Thank you, Chris. Let's stay right here. Let's stay right here. First trophy that he has in a long time. Okay. This trophy is presented to Chris Wayland, President of Channel 7 and MWBTF New England Cable News, Telemundo, and NBC Sports Boston. He is a community influencer and advocate. Congratulations to Chris Wayland. Your influence for the greater good of our community. Through your actions, you have shown us the true power of leadership, servant leadership, okay, and legacy of making our community a better place that will continue to inspire all of us. Right? With heartfelt gratitude, our Winthrop Health Community Forum and our entire community of Winthrop extends its best wishes and expresses the hope for continued success in all your endeavors. Congratulations. Chris Wayland, everybody. Chris Wayland. Chris Wayland. Okay. That was terrific, Chris. Tonight, we have a two-time Emmy Award-winning anchor of NBC 10, Boston, and New England Cable News. She was recently named one of Boston Magazine's most influential Bostonian. She is a multi-talented journalist, and she's moderated political debates, anchored live news events, secured exclusive one-on-one interviews, and emceed countless charity events every year. She joined the NBC 10 Boston and New England Cable News family as a morning reporter after arriving from WWLP 22 Springfield, where she had been a weekday anchor. During her career, she has been a successful health reporter, weekend anchor, evening news anchor, before landing her very favorite role as morning news anchor on NBC 10. of our own too. She's a native of Dorchester, but she belongs to us. She is a graduate of the prestigious Boston Latin Academy, and she graduated from Emerson College with a degree in broadcast journalism. She also represented Massachusetts in the Miss USA pageant. Our guest speaker and her husband are very grateful for raising their son and daughter here in the Boston area. One of her greatest joys is volunteering in youth groups, such as the local Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston, Lynn, and other communities. Please give a warm Winthrop welcome to Latoyia Edwards. Latoyia.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Sandy, you are yummy and delicious. Isn't Sandy outstanding? Give it up for Sandy, please. You know, I have to tell you something. I didn't know what to expect. Chris said, Latoyia, you want to come to this event? I said, sure, of course. I walk through the door. I see Chris. I'm about to walk to Chris, and then a ball of yum, delicious joy just approaches me and gives me the best, the warmest, the most beautiful hug. Sandy, thank you so much for your energy, thank you for your love, and thank you for your welcome. And I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you.
But then, I get here and everybody is family. I love you all so much. I didn't want to get a place here. Is that okay? Because it's so warm, it's so welcoming. Thank you, and I appreciate anybody who's ever watched our news, and if you haven't, by the end you'll be watching, I promise you, okay? All right, well, before we get any further, I do a little usual thing. I say, good morning. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Now let's stop this because I've been awake. My alarm goes off at 1:50 in the morning. I have to be to work at 3 a.m. My first newscast is at 5. I then do it from 5 to 8 a.m. between NECN and NBC 10, and then I do Today's Show cut-ins until 9 o'clock. And then we have meetings, and then I write stories. So if I have energy right now, you have energy, okay? Let's try it again. Good evening! Good evening! Good evening! Good evening! You guys over there, good evening! Good evening! That's how we're gonna do this, okay? Thank you so much for welcoming me. I took a nap, so don't worry. I got plenty of energy to get us through this little speech right here. All right. So as you heard, my name's Latoyia, and I'm from Dorchester. So not exactly Winthrop, but about 30 minutes away. If you claim me, I claim you. So thank you for the welcome. Yeah. And I'm happy to be here because I wanted to share a little bit. You see people on television, you say, well, what is their story? And you see us with the lashes and the makeup, and oh, it must be so easy. And yes, I think my job is absolutely awesome, but it wasn't always easy. So if you want to know, and I love Dorchester, and they even made a commercial about it, so you know I love Dorchester. But my neighborhood, while I loved it, I just want to give you a perspective. So when I was born, my mother was 16, my father was 18 years old. They met in high school, and they both didn't know what they were doing, so here I am. And my mother grew up in Columbia Point Housing Development. And if you've ever been to the UMass library, JFK library, that's where I grew up in the housing project that was there. And it was tough, I'm not going to lie. I remember a reporter coming into town and there were dead bodies in the buildings, there were gangs, there was violence. But that wasn't my story. And it's so interesting because it just shows you, my mom taught me early, my dad taught me early, that your environment doesn't dictate who you are going to be and what you are. And so I walked around there like it was a party and I just looked at what you have here. I looked at the resources. It was the Boys and Girls Clubs. It was the Strand Theater, which was up the street. The Boys and Girls Club in my neighborhood had me writing contributing to an autobiography and being published by the time I was 9 years old. I was on the stage doing theater playing an old man with powder in my hair by the age of 10, working on my public speaking skills. So, I think that Dorchester gets a bad rap, and I'm not going to pretend that there were some tough parts, but there are also a lot of good. The best thing about Dorchester was family. And what I see here right now, and what I love being here in the lobby, was the sense of community that you guys had. I mean, whether it was you talking to me about the fact that your daughter, even in Italy, her middle name is Toya, because my nickname is Toya. That's family. It's Doreen, you giving me a hug and telling me about your baby Chris and letting me know that he was a good boy and it's good to have sons like I have a son. That's family. So in my neighborhood in Dorchester, even though it was rough, and my mom was a teenager, she had her brothers. Her brothers were like my brothers. They're only 14 and 11 years older than me. And they went to school. And so I was like a freak. I used to love to read, and I used to love spelling bees, even at like 5 and 6 years old. And so I'd read their books. And my family, even though they were in a really tough neighborhood, my grandmother went to school with her twin sons and got a degree at Bunker Hill Community College. They got a degree at the same time. So education is everything. So that's where I came from. And like you, Chris, it's so funny that hearing your story blew me away. Chris, by the way, is my boss. And he is the chillest guy you'll ever meet. He is, when I heard your resume, I almost forgot who I was sitting beside, because you hear him, he is a big deal. Chris, you have done so many things, and I have to honor you and give you your flowers. I can't wait to write a post about you. The best thing about Chris is that when he walks through the building every day, he stops by everybody's desk, he asks about your children, he sits down, he takes the time to know your story, and he makes me feel like family. So thank you, Chris, for making me feel a part of the Winthrop family before I even been to Winthrop. And Chris, you and I have something in common, because when I would be in Dorchester, in that tough neighborhood, I used to make lists. I used to make a list. I used to dream about what my life would be like when I wasn't in a place that was only brick. And so on my list, I used to write things out, like I would see Liz Walker. Anybody remember Liz Walker? Yeah, so I remember her over at WBZ TV. It's okay, they're not me, but that's all right, they're not NBC, that's okay, we support WBZ. And I remember seeing her, and she was this tall black woman. I said, we have something in common here. And I saw how she was so poised and not afraid, and I said, I want to do that one day. Please let me, Lord, let me do that one day. And then I remember thinking, I would watch pageants and say, I think I could do it. And I was a tall, awkward, skinny basketball player, even at 10. And I would say, you know, one day I want to play basketball, and I want to be in pageants. I want to do all that. And again, I wasn't pretty. I wasn't particularly coordinated, but I had big dreams of what my life would be like outside of the housing project that I lived in. And so I told Chris, and I told some of my friends here that I would bring props for you. So you read my bio, but I always like you to see for yourself. Hold on real quick. Hold on. Talk amongst yourself. Hold on. So, I just won my second Emmy, but here's what an Emmy looks like. And this is the hard work of our whole team. But this is the Dorchester kid who just was telling our stories, our Massachusetts stories, and thank goodness they gave me the recognition. And when we talked about representing the state of Massachusetts, I usually bring my crown, but my husband, he's the best person. He is delicious. He brought me a new case, and so he said, don't break it, so I didn't bring it. But he dusted it. It was in our basement. So this is the sash that I wore for the Miss Massachusetts pageant. I just want you to see this. It's so silly to me, but as long as it'll go around, I just want you to see it. It's crazy. It's because my brand of, quote, beauty wasn't always celebrated. Even on TV, you know, I wrote a story about it, like, for so many years, they tell me that I had to dye my hair, my naturally curly hair, straighten it, process it. Consultants, we would pay them to say, look more like a person who was not you. Really. Change your name. My middle name is Simone. Use Simone. Viewers don't want to hear the name Latoyia. Literally, would tell me that to my face. But luckily, my home at NBC respected my view. And it's so weird because it was actually my little girl who's 17 years old. I remember she was in middle school, and she has very beautiful hair, but it's curly and it's kinky. And I remember picking her up from school, and she was crying one day. And I said, Nina, what's wrong? And she said, can I just straighten my hair, relax it with the chemical? And I said, why, Need? And she said, these boys keep making fun of me. And she was crying, and she never cries. And I said to her, you have to be proud of your hair. You have to be proud of your culture. And she was looking at me. She would never talk back to this day. But I knew what she was looking. She looked at me, and I had this, dyed, straight, damaged hair. And she said, and I knew in her eyes said, well, if I'm supposed to be proud, why aren't you proud? And so I mustered up my courage one day to walk into my news director's office, who then talked to Chris, and I said, Chris, I said, Ben, please, can you ask Chris, can you ask our leadership, can I be myself? It was during the pandemic. I said, when I would go on vacation, I always braid my hair. I'd always braid it because it's easier. I felt more connected culturally. And I said, can I please? I hate rejecting my culture on air. I think people would be comfortable with, I'd be more myself. And I expected them to say a big no. He said, I'll get back to you. And we had to talk to Chris. It's like, what's gonna happen? I walked out of there with no hope. A day later, he said, can I talk to you? And I walked up, I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for bad news. He said, okay, when do you want to start? When can you get your hair braided? I nearly passed out. I just started hyperventilating, crying. So that's part of my little journey, and I want to share that with you. But, when you hear, when I was speaking with somebody out in from the Board of Health, and they said, how can you do your schedule? And I said, oh, it's all right. And the reason I can do it, truly, my parents. Doreen, we heard about you and your husband. But, and like you, my mom and my dad, even though they were kids, they were just the absolute best. And so my dad became a social worker. But he always had 3 jobs. Always had 3 jobs. He was a social worker, but then he also would clean our church, and he also would get a weekend job sometimes, especially for Christmas, at Marshall's. So that's where we get toys. And then my mother was a teacher. My mother had 7 kids. And she would teach everybody's kids. She also would sell dinners so she could pay for my college education. And she also would sell clothing, baked goods, all that. So I saw hard work. So I'm not afraid of waking up at 1:50 in the morning, it's no problem. And I feel like I lived a magical life for most of my life. Like you, I had this neighborhood, this community, and I honestly would walk through, and you see, it was charmed. It's like a little inner city kid with this great life. And I felt great. 2019, you talked about anxiety. The weirdest thing happened. My grandmother, who was 38 when I was born, so she was my young, sassy grandma, she started developing dementia. And my uncles couldn't take care of her. So she was at the hospital one day in Boston, and the nurse pulled me aside and said, Latoyia, can you become her guardian? And I said, I don't know about that one. It was February 2019. I had to go to court with her sons, my twin uncles, who were some of my best friends, and it was tough. It tore me apart. I was sad. But we got it ironed out. I got her into a nursing home. We had her birthday on September 21st. It was a great party. I hosted it. And then 3 days later, she died. And I tell you something about that time. You know that magical moment? You know how you experience something and it just shakes you to your core? And like my grandmother, think of your nana, think of, the meals that they used to cook for you, just every little thing. She took me to filing space and taught me how to shop, okay? That was my grandmother. And so when she died, it blew me. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to be. Thank God my station gave me plenty of time, weeks to be off. I planned her funeral. We had to raise money for her to bury her. We had all the kids there. I put together the funeral. I was like the oldest grandchild, but I had no experience with this. My mom was there. She basically helped pay for everything. And then we got a beautiful service together. My aunt, who's a little older than my mother, she was coughing up blood at the funeral. It was weird. She's like, I'm fine, Toy. I was like, okay. We buried my gran. 3 days later, my aunt dies. Talk about a charmed life that's blown to bits. Thank you, Sandy. A little delicious one. Oh my God. It's okay, don't worry about me. I got it. So that time was rough. And I'm still doing news. My aunt, she was born June 10th and born June 9th. You know, we're just so close because, again, I came into the family with, they were all kids. So it was more than just my aunt. You know, she's like my aunt, sister, whatever. I was her Tookie, you know, so I had to plan her funeral. So I did, and we pulled together. My mom was there, she was a rock, you know, she, again, spoke, and she just taught me how to do it. We hold a birthday party, COVID hits. We still come, my mom was like so afraid of getting sick because she was raising my sister's kids. My youngest sister had mental illness. So she was like, we would meet each other outside her house, and she would give us our birthday gifts, and she'd give us Thanksgiving meals outside her gate. We didn't hug that whole year, but we had family and togetherness outside my mom's house. And I remember then February 15th comes, I'm doing a special project for NBC for the Embrace, and I'm doing it, and I get a call from my sister, and she says, Toy, Mommy's not waking up. My 61-year-old mother was not waking up. I'm okay, Sandy, don't worry. It's okay, baby love. And it was ridiculous. That's why I'm glomming on to you, because when I saw that your daughter was here, you don't know what it's like to hug a mom. So when you asked me, Robin, to speak about mental health and how do you persevere, don't worry, Sandy, please sit down, because you're going to be hugging me all day, because I'm just going to cry. I'm fine. When you asked me about persevering, and we all have struggles, and we all have to show up to our job. And I'm naturally a very happy person. But when you lose the most important person, like your axis is thrown, how do you steady yourself again? And so I had to figure it out. Again, NBC 10, they showed up at my funeral. The funeral. Chris, with his handsome face, walks through all the time. And they gave me time to plan it and to figure out myself out. My mom had COVID, just so you know. She had COVID, she beat it. And then she started feeling short of breath. And then she called my sister that February 15th and said, I'm feeling chest pains. And my sister said, go to the hospital. And she said, no, I don't want to leave the kids. And she went to sleep and never woke up. So that's what happened. But how do you persevere? That's the question. How am I standing here right now with joy in my heart? And it's a decision. I talked to a therapist right after my mother passed. I said, how can I live? She's my everything. She called me every day. She was in every decision. She was there when I would moderate debates. And she said to me, Latoyia, and you may think this is crazy, but it's absolutely true. She said, Latoyia, your mother is now your ancestor. She's in the celestial realm. She can do more now as in the celestial realm. If you stop and look in your life from this day forward, you'll see your mother show up in your everyday life. That's how I won this Emmy. That's how I was voted Bostonian or whatever. I need to say Bostonian. How do I get on this list? It's because my mother is showing up, letting me know when I get sad that it's okay. That's how I believe is happening. And so that's how I choose joy. But more importantly, I don't hide. I come out, I show up, I meet new people, I say hi to your son, I say hi to Winthrop, I take pictures, we get flu shots together. That's what it is. I create a new family. My grandma's gone, my aunt's gone, my mom is gone. I treasure the people that are around me. I glom onto people who show love to me, like Chris. And I say to myself, you know what, there's no reason to be negative. There's always a reason to smile. So that's why I stand here today with joy in my heart, with a smile on my face. When you see me in the morning, tomorrow morning at 5 a.m., yes, I'm gonna go to work. and you say, that's my cousin Latoyia out there on NBC 10 Boston, and you hear me laugh, my awkward laugh, laugh with Raul and Matt. It's not fake, because I know that even though my mom is gone, she raised me to be strong, and she showed me that there's always a reason to smile. Thank you so much for your time.
Latoyia Edwards, everybody. Latoyia Edwards. So inspiring. We all go through things, but we don't do this. This is amazing.
Put it on, Sandy.
There we go. There we go. Hey, Mr. Oh, she's gonna take a picture. We love you. We love you, Latoyia. That was so beautiful. You've gone through so much. Okay. We have an award for Latoyia. So, presented to Latoyia Edwards, news anchor, NBC 10 and New England Cable News. Congratulations to Latoyia Edwards for harnessing the power of her influence for the greater good of our community. And you are our community. With your actions, you have shown the true power of leadership and your legacy of making our community a better place. And you belong to us, Latoyia. You're going to always inspire us. So with heartfelt gratitude, all of us here in Winthrop community and our entire community extend the best wishes for most success in all your future endeavors. Congratulations. Thank you, Latoyia Edwards. Thank you so much. Latoyia.
Oh, I gotta take the Emmy back, sorry.
She's got to take the Emmy back. Hey. Latoyia Edwards, thank you so much. Okay, now, Barbara Bishop, could you come up here, please?
Oh, Barbara Bishop. Oh, yes.
I still have Miss America. Everybody knows and loves Barbara. Barbara has been Speaker Bob DeLeo's right-hand woman. Right, Bob? Okay. So Barbara is the behind the scenes, you know, doing everything every year for almost 26 years. So we'd like to give, well, for many years, we're going to give Barbara an award. So, Barbara, our sincerest congratulations to you in recognition for your unwavering dedication to the health and wellness of our community. Your compassion, efforts, and commitment have made a profound impact on the lives of countless individuals. Through your caring and leadership, you've inspired all of us to prioritize our well-being and create a healthier community. Our Community Health Forum extends its very best wishes to you, Barbara. Congratulations.
Pleasure getting to know everybody on your staff and working with this planning committee. Robin, it was great. I wish we could clone you. Thank you very much. And we should just point out Senator Edwards is here.
Oh, Senator Edwards, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you. Okay. And could we have Speaker Bob DeLeo come up here, please? So, Bob DeLeo, we are indebted to you for this wonderful forum. If it wasn't for the speaker, we wouldn't be here tonight. Countless people have been made aware of resources and help, anything from diabetes to mental health and so forth because of Bob. So we're really, really happy about that. So we have an award for Bob. Okay. In recognition of his visionary leadership, we're presenting to Bob for pioneering this path of wellness. We never had anything like this before in Winthrop, so you pioneered this, okay? So congratulations on your outstanding achievement and pioneering efforts in the path of wellness. Your dedication to our community's well-being and the establishment of the Winthrop's Community Health Care Forum are truly commendable. Your foresight and innovation has not only improved countless lives, but also has left a legacy of compassion and wisdom. Your commitment to the betterment of our community has had a profound impact, and we're incredibly grateful for your tireless effort. So the Community Health Forum and our entire community of Winthrop extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for continued success in all your endeavors. Thank you, Bob.
First, I want to say something. First of all, I didn't know about this. Vicky's been on my case for a month about getting the flu shot tonight. And I said, why do you keep on reminding me about a flu shot? When when we get there, we get there. It'll be fine. So thank you so much. I'd have to say, first of all, I don't think anything's going to stop Sandy Hurley, by the way. No illness, no bad weather, whatever it may be, she's going to beat it. If anyone's going to do it, she's going to do it. Coming after speakers like Chris and Latoyia is extremely difficult. And one of the things you learn when you're Speaker of the House and they want to put you on an agenda, you will never have people who can speak better than you speak before you. So that's going to be an issue. But I have to say that I am enjoying my time at Northeastern as a professor. It's a whole lot different. I have to say that now going into a professor and a university fellow in public life, all of a sudden I became smart again. The students think they just love to hear the stories of what it's like to be Speaker of the House, what goes on in Washington and what goes on in Boston and Massachusetts, and it's just a wonderful. And also I learned how to dress without a tie once in a while. That's the other first thing I had to learn about. But one thing I just wanted to mention was, yes, we did start this some 26 years ago, which I can't fathom. It's great that it's still going and still happening so that the people of Winthrop can have the opportunity maybe to learn in terms of what's going on in the field of health and how we can provide some of the resources or to let people know what the resources out there that can help them, in terms of the long and healthy and good lives. When I became Speaker of the House, I sometimes, since I have left, have received various community service awards, lifetime achievement awards, and all those very nice things. And people talk to me about, sort of rehashing in terms of my years in the legislature. And many times they'll pick out certain things that have happened, you served 30 years, you're the longest serving speaker in the history of Massachusetts. That's something, you should be talking about. And they wanted to do, Commonwealth magazine did a little story, and they said, well, talk about, when you and President Obama had a discussion about health care, what we had done in Massachusetts, he was looking to do in Washington, and called me up on a Labor Day, and as the White House is calling, and I said, oh, come on, what's the joke? And sure enough, he asked me to fly down to talk about health care. And I bring those up because those are all great memories. And the magazine said, well, those have to be some of the best things in your life that ever could occur, to have memories like that. And I said, yeah, they're very nice. I said, but they're not the best. And they said, well, not the best. I says, no. I says, I didn't really look at this job as a means of taking, pictures with presidents or actors and actresses, prime ministers, and all the others. I says, I took this job to help people. That's why I took the job of getting into politics, of representative, and going on and moving upward. I said, that's the thing that gives me the most joy. When I talk to some folks about the Lifetime Achievement Awards, I tell them, one of the things I remember the day before I was going to be elected as Speaker of the House, I sat in a chamber. It was a cold January day, and the lights were even off, and the snow was coming down, and I said, wow, I can't believe, that a kid from East Boston and Winthrop went to Boston Latin, by the way. A little more prestigious than Boston Latin did, but not bad.
We could talk about it.
We will talk. We get a bad news story now. And I can remember standing there as I'm about to assume that position in terms of what it is I want to achieve. And one of the things I thought about was the fact that I wanted the people from my hometown and the people that I was representing and the people from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to say at the end of my term, whatever that may be, that I did right by them, that I made them proud. That was the most important thing to me. This is I know it may sound a little hokey and whatnot, but it happens to be very true. When I sat there in the seat of this big chamber by myself, and I said, hopefully by the time, whenever that may be in terms of serving as Speaker, that I will help as many people as I can. That was the job. Yes, I liked that, it was nice, the dinners and all that other stuff, but quite frankly, I got just as more, if not, I'd say more, personal satisfaction of helping someone who needed help. Because quite frankly, that's what government, I should say, is all about. So bottom line, as I had left, and I just sincerely want to thank each and every one of you, and Sandy, thank you so much for this award. But thank you for giving me the opportunity of a lifetime to serve you in the State House. Thank you, and God bless everyone.
Speaker Bob DeLeo. Ladies and gentlemen, Speaker Bob DeLeo. Thank you. Thank you, Vicky, for getting here tonight. Thank you all. See you next year.